All right. So, this was definitely a better episode. They're slowly getting better as the episodes go, but this is episode 6. I think it's episode 6. Yes. It's episode 6. So, maybe, not wait till now to make things interesting. Most people aren't going to wait. Possibly if this show um was bingeable as opposed to a weekly show, I could foresee you waiting 6 episodes to make this good. But considering this is an 8 episode season, why? But anyway, so the show starts with Osha waking up somewhere, and she is very cautious, but she sniffs the drink before she takes a sip, which, all right. I mean, I don't know if you can only tell by smell if something is dangerous, but okay. She claims to be able to sense living things, so maybe she can figure out that it's safe anyway. So then she's wandering around and she finds Chimere. They're still on this unknown planet. They still haven't given us a name to this planet. Probably this way they don't have to worry about stepping on cannon toes. They don't want it to be a known planet, so instead of naming it, they're just gonna leave it unknown planet. Or maybe we'll find out by the 8th episode. Who knows? So, and I'm gonna stick with the Osha plotline. So she's walking around, she finds Chimere, and Chimere goes to take a skinny dip. Great acting from Amandla that she didn't openly gawk at this. I mean, she's supposed to be even though she's left the Jedi Order for who knows what reason, still, I mean, I'm asexual. I would probably gawk at an attractive body in front of me. Not in a sexual way, but just because pretty things are pretty. So the fact that there was no gawking, impressive. Especially considering that, I mean, I get it. She doesn't trust him as far as she can throw him, which is a good plan. But still, naked is naked. So she finds his lightsaber and she picks it up. Now, Chimere, of course, senses that she was right behind him. I mean, he's not an idiot. You can't take out a strong Jedi force and then not notice that someone is coming to kill you from behind. He does point out that, he's unarmed at the moment. And as I said last episode, he's so strong in the Force. Can you really truly consider him unarmed? He does make a point, though, that in the heat of battle is one thing, but it's been hours. Why are you trying to kill me now? Again, he's being very persuasive, very manipulative, so yeah, again, it really calls into question what does it mean to be in battle and an armed opponent. But anyway, so he's just like, since you aren't going to join me, can I at least get dressed? And so he does so, and he walks back to wherever he's staying, and Osha follows him. And she obviously she's in a position where she really has no choice but to follow him, because what is she going to do? I mean, he did say that if she starts swimming now, she could make the ship by the morning, which, that's not exactly something that fills you with happiness, knowing that you're that far away from getting off this planet. And so she follows him, and we find out a little bit more about why she left. And not a hell of a lot more, but a teensy-weensy bit more. So she did leave. Chimere questions whether she left by her own volition. She insists that she did. And he basically offers himself up to her on a silver platter, charge the lightsaber while he's right there in impaling distance. And of course she doesn't. I mean, she eventually lights it, but not to impale him. And he mentions, the anger and the fear in her, and that's what freaked out the Jedi, and that's why they got rid of her. And she's like, no, I left on my own because I failed. Now, it's entirely possible that both versions are true to an extent. They talked to her about her anger, her fear, and that could lead to the dark side, and that's what she knows. And so they don't want that they're worried about taking a chance on her and continuing to train her. And so she then decided to leave. So both versions can be true. I'm wondering, we have 2 episodes left. By God, when are we going to learn what exactly happened on Brendok? I hope it's next episode, because, I mean, again, there's 2 episodes left. But anyway, I'm going ahead of myself. So he explains to Osha, how he's able to, he has basically a sensory deprivation helmet like they had as younglings. So he was a Jedi at one point, or at least he was a Jedi youngling. And that, so he kept emphasizing it was a really long time ago. So we don't know how old Chimere is. I mean, we just assume because he looks human that he is a humanoid and that he has a humanoid lifespan. But just because he looks human doesn't mean that he has a human lifespan. So who knows how old he is? It's entirely possible that he's hundreds of years old. We do not know. The fact that he's aware of what happened on Brendok, or at least he seems to be aware. I don't know if it's because of May that she told him, or if he was there. Didn't see a lot of men on Brendok, so. But he explains how he was a Jedi. She finally asks him about his scar, because they showed it twice, obviously when he disrobed to take a bath or just swim or whatever. And again, when he was using his shirt to wipe the sweat off his brow. So she asked him about it. And he's like, well, how do you think I got it? And so, now whether it's truly that his Jedi Master gave him that scar, which, fun fact, it looks like a lightsaber whip. Not necessarily a lightsaber, but a lightsaber whip. It's in that shape. So, what if he was a Padawan of Venestra? And, so that would be an interesting twist, which is why he would be aware of Saul, but why Saul wouldn't remember him is, like I said, but we'll get to more of that later. So I forgot what it's made of, that weakens lightsabers. We saw with like Jackie that her lightsaber just, puttered out when it was near it. So, basically, you're alone with your thoughts, the Force. So, right now he's being a chill guy, a nice guy, a helpful guy. I still question. I mean, it's entirely possible that they're making Venestra out to be a bit of a bad guy, because, that she would do this, and God knows how long ago it was. They didn't say whether he was a child, whether he was older. We don't know. But I'm thinking that it's Venestra, who was his Jedi Master. Now, he could be lying as to the reason why it could be he lied that the Jedi Master caused that scar, or, he's not exactly being truthful as to why. But he seems to be getting through to Osha. And he wants her to try on the mask. And she's like, I don't trust you. She's like, that's fine. You don't have to trust me, but trust yourself. So, she's trying so hard to dislike this guy. And he's making it so difficult for her to do so, because he's being chill, he's being relatively nice. He's not, obviously he's poo-pooing the Jedi. Like, the idea that if you don't use it or lose it when it comes to the Force, that you need to practice the Force. And Kymir's like, no. The Jedi have decided that there's only one way to use the Force, and that's the only way. And, Osha should be aware of this. She's aware of her witch coven. So she knows that there are other ways to use the Force. Or is she not aware that it's the same thing? That her witch coven was using the same Force as the Jedi, only differently. So Kymir expresses not a disdain, but he's upset about May, because it turns out she didn't want what he wants, which is to just be able to, be himself and not follow a certain order, just do his thing. And May just was out for revenge. She just wanted to, have revenge on these Jedi. Now, the question is, why? Considering she was talking to Osha about family and they can be together again. I wonder if it isn't so much that they did something on Brendock and that this whole thing is also a misdirect. That maybe May's revenge is simply the fact, it doesn't have to do with the fire, doesn't have to do with the witch coven being killed off, but just simply that they took Osha away. Even though it was Osha's choice, which, at the first flashback, Mother Coral suggested that it was a Jedi mind trick. So maybe May doesn't even believe that she went willingly. But, so she just wanted revenge, and that's not what Chimere wants. So, after Chimere leaves, she finally decides to put on the helmet. And she then does the heavy breathing thing. Which, I don't know, that just bugs the heck out of me. Because in the original trilogy, Darth Vader made that heavy breathing noise not because of his helmet, but because because of the breathing apparatus he needed to live. He couldn't breathe on his own. Because if you see Luke with the sensory deprivation helmet on, he doesn't do any heavy breathing. He's perfectly fine. So, yeah, that seriously annoys me. The only way to be Sith and wear a helmet is to sound like Darth Vader. That annoys me. So that's how the episode ends. So let's go back to May and Sol. So Basil Brazel, whatever his name is, he is still sniffing around, trying to figure out. He's got the pip droid, and he's trying to figure out, what's going on. Something's wrong here. So he plugs in the pip droid, and they decide to attack May because they know that this is not Osha. In the meantime, May, follows Sol up to the bridge, and he's trying to make a distress call to let people know what happened on Kofar. And you can see how upset he is. So he is, as he's seemingly distracted, just like Chimere when he was swimming, he senses that Osha is behind him, and he asks for Osha's help. It's like, I've got to reset the transmitter, you take the wheel. Right when she's about to, right about when she wants to stab him. Because a Jedi as strong as Master Sol, how could you seriously think you can sneak up on him? I mean, even if he thought that you were Osha, he can sense when someone's behind him. I mean, come on. He just saw his whole team murdered. He's not going to, just because he's supposedly safe in the ship, he's not going to let his guard down. So he sends her down, and Bazril, is it Bazril? I don't know. He basically shows that he knows that she's not Osha, and steps on her foot. And Pip sprays oil in her eye. Um, so this whole May plot was kind of more comedy. And, so she resets Pip to his factory settings because she's pissed off at what he's doing. Or is Pip a she? I don't know. And, she's looking for the power system. Obviously, so is Brazel. And so, Soul finds OSHA, and he's, it seems like he might have also himself been able to fix things, because he was in front of the display earlier when he just seemingly broke down. So he finds OSHA, and he's just holding her and hugging her. And he, it's like, why did I not notice that this person, Chimere, why didn't I notice when we met up with him the first time? Why didn't I notice the evil inside him? And May came up with a very good explanation. She's like, sometimes you're so focused on one thing that you ignore everything else. And which, that could be said about her. She was laser focused on revenge, that she didn't care about what's happening around her. Like, I don't know, maybe the truth of what happened on Brendock. So she asks him what happened on Brendock, and then the lights come on. It's like, oh, come on. How long are we going to have to deal with this? So the lights come on, and May goes back to the bridge, and then she calls, is anybody out there? And as someone starts talking to her, Soul stuns her. And he's like, oh, May. And it's like, okay, if you knew she was May this whole time, why are you stunning her now? I mean, did you not hear the voice on the other end? It was the Jedi. It's not like she contacted Chimere. But anyway, so she wakes up, and she's handcuffed to the bed, gurney, whatever. And Soul is like, I've been thinking 16 years of how to talk to you. What to say to you. And now you're going to listen to me. And so I wonder if he didn't know before that it was OSHA. That it was May instead of OSHA. Because it's possible that Bazril said something to Soul, and that's why. But he never encountered him, so I don't know. Or maybe he decided to finally accept it. Now he turns off the transponder. So they leave, and it seems like the very second they left, the other ship came. And I'm like, why? Why did you, he even said, I have to go to the High Council and tell them everything. She's like, everything? I just don't know why he didn't want to, the Jedi that were sent to find him on Kofar, why he didn't want to be found. I mean, I guess he wanted some alone time with May without interruptions, but he can still do that even if they find him. But anyway. So, speaking of that ship, Vernestra is talking to some senator, and the person who is attempting to make contact with Soul talks to her and says that, that there's a distress call from Master Soul, that there were casualties. Oh yeah, how many? I'm not sure. The connection was pretty bad, but it sounded like all of them. So Vernestra decides she's going on this mission to find out what's happening. And she's apparently the only one who knows that he's in Kofar. And because the guy who was there is like, how did you know that? Because I sent him there. So they land, as I said, right after Master Soul leaves. And so they land there and they see the carnage, and Vernestra notices one of those creatures waking up, which I didn't see any lightsabers, or maybe it's because the sun's out, I don't know. And so she uses her lightsaber whip on the creature and says these were all lightsaber injuries. And so Vernestra is being level-headed about it. It's like, okay, what's happening? Who did this? And her Padawan, because I believe he was wearing a Padawan braid. So the Padawan, don't know if it's her Padawan, said, immediately assumes it's Master Soul, because who else could have done this? Now, if I'm right, that Chimere used to be Vernestra's Padawan, and that she could have, for whatever reason, was the one who gave him his back scar, I wonder if she knows it's Chimere. And that, first off, you can't just assume just because you only know of Master Soul being there, and the fact that, he left and turned off his transponder, which, kind of suspect. So I can see why, because of the way Master Soul is acting, why the Padawan would assume that. But Vernestra is right. You cannot assume. There might be something that they're not familiar with that's out there. But the way Vernestra was saying that, it's possible she knows it's Chimere because he used to be her Padawan all those years ago. Because we don't know how old, or at least I don't know how old Vernestra is. It sounds like Chimere is older than he looks. So it's entirely possible that she figured out it's Chimere. Now, as for the Sith aspect of it, they might still not believe that he is Sith. A Dark Jedi, maybe, but not Sith. Even though he did say it. But, it could be that he just picked a boogeyman for the Jedi or something. So that's pretty much how the whole thing ends. It's going to be, the last 2 episodes are going to be interesting. Hopefully we're actually going to get answers. From what I've heard, the season is pretty much self-contained. Obviously, it'll allow for questions if there is a season 2. But the season 2 would have to promise to be way, way better before they greenlight a season 2, because my God, what a mess. I get it. You guys want to be secretive. You want people to question what's happening. But there's only so much of questioning you can do before people are like, yeah, you know what, screw this show. I just don't care anymore because it's just too, too, out there. Too, not even weird, just, you just have absolutely nothing to work with. You can't figure out who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. I mean, she said, Leslie Headland did say at the beginning that this is going to be a Sith show and the Jedi are the bad guys. But even that, okay, the Jedi are the bad guys, but give us a reason to think they are. I mean, it's only now, episode 6, where you're really, yes, May hates the Jedi, but that doesn't make the Jedi bad guys. It just means that May hates them for some reason. We don't know how they are the bad guys. This is starting to give us a sense, but again, is it because they attacked for no reason? Or, which May seems to think, and Kymir is kind of implying with his scar? Or did something actually happen on Brendock that made them bad guys? Because Torben was certainly conflicted about something. That's why he, ended up the way he did. That's why he was willing to take the poison. So, yeah. We are not getting enough information on anything. You shouldn't have to wait till the last episode to fully know what's happening. Who am I supposed to be rooting for? Who am I supposed to be rooting against? I get that the good guys aren't all good and the bad guys aren't all bad. It's not cartoonish. Fine. But give me something. Because right now, we don't have anything. We just know that there's a conflict amongst the characters, but we have no idea of why and who should we be rooting for. We know nothing. So it is interesting, but it could be so much better. So the title of this episode was Teach Corrupt. Now, obviously that's supposed to be that one twin is being taught and the other one is being corrupted. Now, given that this is supposed to make the Jedi out to be bad guys, who is being taught and who's being corrupted? So far, we didn't see much of any teaching from Saul, or corruption for that matter. So, we saw corruption from Kymir. He managed to get a lot more done than Saul did in this episode. So, obviously, if he's a Sith, then yes, the dark side is supposed to be bad, but is it supposed to be? I mean, just because you acknowledge emotions doesn't make that a bad thing. So, yeah. I'm hoping that these last 2 episodes explain at least enough that we can figure out how to see the rest of the series. I believe that is all I have for this episode. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one.